Ladies and gentlemen, I am your host Ryofu, and you are watching The Gaming Harbinger. Today we are here to review Gears of War 5, better known as Gears 5, for the Xbox One. Now, while this review will cover all aspects of the game, including new mechanics, the overall performance and how it runs, campaign, multiplayer, so on and so forth, there is another underlying topic I would like to cover. I'll save that for the very end. But with that being said, there's so much to discuss, we might as well jump in right now. Gears 5 is the sixth game in this Microsoft exclusive series. And I should get this out of the way now. Before I go any further, I do consider myself a Gears fan. Even the biggest Xbox fan is well aware that Microsoft exclusives have diminished drastically. No one is denying that. But it is kind of criminal to say Microsoft just has Gears, Halo, and Forza. It's a little disingenuous because those are actually three strong series. And it's unreasonable to act like these games are no big deal. If you don't like them, you don't like them. But to act like it's whatever and nothing's changed, or almost borderline on saying they're not good, is just disingenuous. Anyways, I would say that Gears 5 is a return to form. There is just enough to feel like the team is experimenting with some ideas to bring a little excitement back into the series. So let's start off with the story. If you want to follow this, it is imperative that you have at least played Gears 4, but it's not entirely necessary to have played the original trilogy. Now, if you've played all the games to this point, I would say you will appreciate the build-up even more so. And I'm just going to throw this comment out there for anyone who is genuinely wondering. If you've never cared for the gameplay or the story in the Gears series, this one isn't a huge departure in style that's going to win you over. It's just not going to happen. Gears 5 is in fact a solid entry, solid gameplay with a few tweaks here and there, and a solid story. Probably one of the best Gears in a while. So jumping into the story, which I won't go into too much detail because I feel like some of that will ruin the fun. But I would say this jumps right where Gears 4 ended, in which Kate is trying to recover from a huge loss she just experienced. And now we have Kate, Dell, and JD joining forces with some of the old members, and now all of them become reinstated as cogs. So once this new Delta team is made, they try to establish a new Hammer of Dawn satellite so they can bring back the Hammer of Dawn network. Which, by the way, I absolutely could not stand that weapon in multiplayer. But anyways, it's not about that. It's not about that. So as this is happening, you slowly start to learn more things about Kate's past. And I know it sounds a little whack, but I don't want to tell you more than that because I feel like that just ruins it. But they do a really good job, and everything in the story is just well executed, and it's a little risky, I would say, but it's pulled off very well. So let's jump into now the performance of the game. And I'm going to apologize in advance that my method of recording Xbox One games does not record in 60 frames per second. I know, I'm a monster. And I say this because this is the first Gears to play in 60 frames per second, campaign and multiplayer. I believe the one before this, Gears 4, it was just multiplayer that ran at 60 frames per second. But now we have this game, 4K, 60 frames per second, or 1080p, 60 frames per second, campaign, and multiplayer. It's a crowning achievement. I mean, the Coalition did something quite impressive. If you don't believe me, you can always watch a Digital Foundry video. So this game rarely stutters. Maybe once in a full moon it'll happen, but not often at all. It's very impressive. This is the first time we are experiencing a campaign like this, and it is glorious. The soundscape utilizing Dolby Atmos is equally impressive. All the sounds are sharp and distinct, and combined with the graphical performance, it just makes the game so much more enjoyable. So let's take a look at what is new about the game outside of Kate being awesome and the performance. So there are a couple of new features in Gears 5. The first is that there can be up to 3 players in the campaign. Yeah, that is a little odd. But the third player is not another muscle-bound soldier. Oh no, he or she will be the unsung hero, the champion of Gears. Get out of here, JD. Scramdale. Yes, I am talking about Jack. Jack is here to save us all. No, this is not a joke. I'm dead serious. Jack is a playable character. And not only that, but he has his own abilities and his own skill tree to level up. These abilities range from making you invisible to setting up traps to taking control of enemy robots. Jack is essentially the Scottie Pippen of Gears of War. That's what I'm trying to say. So, one small tidbit though. So, if you haven't played Gears 4 in a while, I just think this is something kind of cool. And I know this isn't a new concept, but in Gears 4, if you haven't played the game in a while, or you haven't played it, period, there is a little TV show trailer recap thingy. And that is in the options. And I understand this isn't the first time this was done in a video game, but just seeing something like this again, it reminds me that more games need to do this. This should be a staple. It should be a standard. So anyways, one of the surprises for this game was that there are parts of the game that are open world. Yes, you heard me right. You can wander around and explore. Now I get there are optional quests and you could totally skip through them, right? You could totally skip them. But this is a very rare form for Gears. I would even argue that on paper this sounds strange, but it works. And again, this is not a revolutionary concept. But at least with Gears, I feel like they're trying and experimenting with new ideas. In fact, I'm going to kind of jump in here a second and freestyle this, but my only real complaint about the game is that I still feel like there needs to be a change, and I mean a drastic change with like control scheme, how you maneuver, how cover is done. I think it just needs to be revamped so it just feels brand new and fresh. Because I feel like we're mainly just getting stuff added on to what already exists. Like I can play Gears 1 and move and control the same exact way with the same exact button scheme that I did with this game. And I just feel like they just need to be a little riskier with the gameplay and the controls and the mechanics. But outside of that, that's my only criticism, because this whole open world thing is new for them, and I applaud them for taking a chance and trying new things. But anyways, back to experimenting with ideas. If you don't care about any of the optional quests, you can just skip them. But what's interesting is that they have this thing where they do a little side banter between the characters, and it is interesting them just giving you little side stories and whatnot. And this kind of bleeds into another positive for the game, and that is how well voiced and well written the characters are. That's not to say the story is complex or multifaceted, but it is a story that's engaging and has interesting characters. The characters are acted well, and the jokes land. That's just the bottom line. Now, multiplayer has always been a strong point in Gears of War. And while my obsession of competitive online gaming has diminished some, I still have great respect for how much work goes into the Gears competitive scene. Horde mode continues where Gears 4 left off, in that the different classes matter more than ever. Every class now has an ultimate ability. Only engineers and offensive classes can build fortifications. And of course, you can play as the legendary Jack. The two new modes are Escape and Arcade. Escape is a 3-player multiplayer session where the players are placed in the heart of a Locust hive and must blast their way through Locusts and secure an escape route. Now the catch is that you can't kill everything. There just isn't enough time. And not enough ammo. So I think that's a pretty spicy concept. I'm digging it. Arcade allows you to change or upgrade your loadout based on collecting skulls. And you get skulls by getting kills. So the game just packs so much content. Now, I would like to talk to you about that subject that I mentioned earlier in the video. So, Gears 5. It's a great game. I totally recommend it. But some people might ask, is it as good as Spider-Man? Is it as good as God of War? Is it as good as Red Dead Redemption 2? I wouldn't say it's a 10, but maybe we would say it's a 9. I'm sure Gears fans would say it's a 10, but let's try to say this for the sake of being reasonable. It's a 9. Is that good enough for you? Is a 9 good enough for a recommendation? I think so. Have we really gotten to a point where 8s and 9s are taken for granted? Maybe it's just me, but I feel like lately, the past several years, like a lot of gamers have become really cynical. And that threshold is to have a Skyrim, to have a Red Dead Redemption 2. It has to be this masterpiece that took several years to make. And that's just not within the reason for everyone that makes video games. That's not realistic. And all I'm trying to say is lighten up a little bit. And don't just be so dismissive, because looking at what happened to Tomb Raider and Hitman, I'm not really sure if that all falls on Square or if part of it was just that, I mean, there were some amazing games. Too many. It was just way too congested. That's my initial thought. But I think there's also just this, that's not good enough. It has to hit this certain standard. Now that we're used to this, now that we know you can achieve it, it has to be at this level. It has to be at Red Dead Redemption 2 level. Always, all the time. And that's just not realistic. That's all I'm saying. I'm just saying, lighten up. We play games for fun. And you'd be surprised. Step out of that comfort zone, man. Try something and don't go in thinking like, oh, it's won all these awards, it's done all this and that. Surely it's a winner. Just check a game out just to check it out. Because you think it might be fun. And see what happens. You might be surprised. And that concludes my Gears 5 review. If you liked the video, please leave a like, please subscribe, please consider joining this team. And as I've said other times, we have so much more in store for this year. I intend on making a video, of course, on the Microsoft reveal, as well as there's going to be some anime, I guess we're going to call them cons, but online cons. And since you can't see me, I did just do air quotes. But yes, online conventions. I am a little curious, and I think I might consider covering this if there's anything worth talking about. So please look forward to that as well. But as always, it's been fun, and I'll see you in the next video.